Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ghost Pepper, and today we're gonna be reacting to Joe Biden's State of the Union address for 2021. I've already given it a listen, seen a couple things that I disagree with, so we're gonna go ahead and go through it and go point for point. Anything that he disagree or that I disagree with on him, just kind of rebuttal it and kind of go from there. So I hope y'all are all ready for this.
Mitch and Chuck will understand it's good to be almost home. Down the hall.
Yeah, because that's all
Anyway,
time
you
you've
all,
spent
Madam
is ever
Speaker,
in the Senate. You've never had an
Madam
actual
Vice
job.
President. No president
This dude is a career
has ever
politician.
said those words from this podium. No president has ever said those words. And it's about time.
Congratulations. You were the single most unpopular candidate in 2020, and now you're sitting there second in command. Good job.
First Lady, I'm her husband.
Because that's the only crowning achievement you've ever had, is being
Second
Jill
gentleman.
Biden's husband.
Chief Justice,
Like, seriously?
members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. While the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different.
How so?
Reminder of the extraordinary times we're in.
Oh, because you don't want people next to
Throughout
it.
our
Got it.
history,
Got it.
Presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities.
Or to
Tonight,
destroy America, which is
I
what you're
come
probably
talk
about to do.
crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation, we all did, that was in crisis. The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
I wonder if he's referring to the attack the Democrats are doing on our nation right now, where they're trying to keep people under their thumb and not allow them to do what they want to do and take away their freedoms. So I wonder if that's what he's talking about. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
America was already on the move before you took office. This guy is so disingenuous. Like, we were already getting the vaccine out before he took office. He got the vaccine, both shots, before he even took office. So I don't know what he's talking about where he thinks that he's the one that can take full responsibility for America being on the move again.
Life can knock us down, but in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. Americans always get up. Today, that's what we're doing. America's rising anew, choosing hope over fear, truth over lies, and light over darkness. After 100 days of rescue and renewal, America is ready for a takeoff, in my view. We're working again, dreaming again, discovering
Not all of
again,
us.
and
A
leading
lot of
the
us still
world
don't have
again.
jobs because of you.
We have shown each other and the world that there's no quit in America. None.
Oh,
100 days ago,
that's why we're going to be so glad to get you out of
America's house
office.
was on fire.
2024, baby.
We had to act. And thanks to the extraordinary leadership of Speaker Pelosi, Majority Leader Schumer, and the overwhelming support of the American people.
So they own and control almost every branch of government now. And he thinks that it's an achievement that they're able to push things through down the Americans' throats that they don't want. It's not partisan at all. Everything, or it's not bipartisan, excuse me. Everything is partisan that they're trying to push through right now. They're trying to freaking make D.C. into a freaking state now. And if it passes, it's because of partisan hackery, not anything else.
Democrats, independents, and Republicans, we did act. Together we passed the American Rescue Plan, one of the most consequential rescue
Again,
packages
not fully
in American
bipartisan.
history. We're already seeing the results. We're already seeing the results.
You're actually not seeing the results of what that plan's going to do. You're not
After I
seeing all
promised
the deficit that we're going to be in. You're not going to see all the inflation that's going to come from the amount of spending that we're doing right now. He's only been in office 100 days, and he's already almost blown out the spending by $6 trillion. It's so stupid the amount of money they're spending right now.
People's arms in 100 days. We will have provided over 220 million COVID shots in those 100 days.
Congratulations, it was already projected to be on its way.
Thanks to all the help of all of you. We're marshaling.
Is that Maxine Waters right there?
With your help, everyone's help.
Oh, that hag.
Every federal resource. We've gotten vaccines to nearly 40,000 pharmacies and over 700 community health centers where the poorest of the poor can be reached. We're setting up community vaccination sites, developing mobile
Nobody wants
units
it.
to get to hard-to-reach communities. Today, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. Everyone over the age of 16, everyone is now eligible to get vaccinated right now, right away. Go get vaccinated, America.
Biden,
Go
make
get
me.
the vaccinations.
Like,
they're available.
yeah, we know they're available, and you keep pushing them.
Eligible
This is the thing, is that all of these vaccines, as hard as they're pushing them, why are they pushing them that hard? If people people know about this pandemic. People know that the vaccine came out. People know that they're becoming more available. Why are people not going and getting these vaccines if they're so good? Why? Why is he sitting here on the State of the Union address and yelling at Americans to go get the vaccine? Somebody answer me that. Why are they having to push it that hard? Fucking Ted Cruz sitting there. He should have sat his ass down.
When I was sworn in on January 20th, less than 1% of the seniors in America were fully vaccinated against COVID-19. 100 days later, 70% of seniors in America over 65 are protected, fully protected.
Which that was the
Senior
thing.
Deaths from COVID-19 are down 80% since January.
Okay, so the whole thing from the beginning of this and the onset of this virus was to protect the elderly, right? That was the main goal. And if you're in that elderly, demographic, then yes, if you feel like that is the best thing to protect you, then absolutely 100% go get this virus. But for people in my demographic and a good majority of the working force in America, we are not in the demographic of people that this virus is affecting, and we should not be forced and be basically belittled by the United States president into going and making a choice that we don't want to make. Bottom line.
Down 80% because of all of you. And more than half of all the adults in America have gotten at least one shot. A mass vaccination center in Glendale, Arizona, I asked the nurse, I said, "What's it like?" She looked at me and she said, "It's like every shot is giving a dose of hope," is her phrase, a dose of hope.
See, and this is where every politician, they like to come in with the empathy, right? So he's talking, and it's very anecdotal that he's sitting there talking to this healthcare worker and saying, "Oh, every single dose that we give, it's a dose of hope." Just don't play to people's emotions. Either follow the science, which is what we're doing when we're sitting there saying that if you are in a certain age group, you are not as susceptible to this disease as most people, and therefore you should not be taking unnecessary risks on a vaccine that is basically in its test phases right now. You can say that it's been a year, they were testing it before they even released it. No, we right now are the test subjects of this virus or this vaccine. And if you're going and getting it, you're signing up to be a guinea pig at this point.
A dose of hope for an educator in Florida was a child suffering from an autoimmune disease. Wrote to me, said she's worried and she was
More
worried
empathy.
about bringing the virus home.
Scare
She
Americans.
then got vaccinated at a large
Anecdotal.
site in her car.
That's all this
She
is.
said she sat in her car when she got vaccinated and just cried. Cried out of joy and cried out of relief.
Kamala
Parents,
Harris just sitting in the back.
seeing the smiles on their kids' faces for those who are able to go back to school because the teachers and school bus drivers and cafeteria workers have been vaccinated. Grandparents hugging their children and grandchildren instead of pressing hands against the window to say goodbye. It means everything. Those things mean everything. You know, there's still, you all know it, you know it better than any group of Americans. There's still more work to do to beat this virus. We can't let our guard down. But tonight, I can say, because of you, the American people, our progress these past 100 days against one of the worst pandemics in history.
Wait, everybody down in the comments right now. Is he going to say that we can now take off the masks and start living our lives again? Or is he just going to give us a little bit of freedom? Say, oh, you can hang out with a few people. Down in the comments, what's your guess at this point right now? 7 minutes, 31 seconds. What's he going to say?
Has been one of the greatest logistical achievements this country's ever seen. What else have we done in those first 100 days? We kept our commitment, Democrats and Republicans, of sending $1,400 rescue checks to 85% of American households. We've already sent more than 160 million checks out the door. It's making a difference. You all know it when you go home. For many people, it's making all the difference in the world. A single mom in Texas who wrote me, she said she couldn't work, but she said the relief check.
Getting people back in the workforce is what's going to help them. Sending them a $1,400 check, $2,000 check once every 6 months or 5 months or whatever it is that they're doing it at, that's not helping people. Empower people to go back into the workforce and empower them to be able to take care of themselves, not depend on the government teat.
Images, at least from my perspective in this crisis, has been cars lined up for miles. And not people just barely able to start those cars, nice cars, lined up for miles, waiting for a box of food to be put in their trunk. I don't know about you, but I didn't ever think I'd see that in America.
Oh, bread lines?
And all of this
I wonder why.
I
wonder maybe because you're all turning it more communist and not letting people take care of themselves and having people depend on the government. That's why we're seeing bread lines. That's why we're seeing this. If you had just left things alone, people would be back at work right now and doing just fine. But no, we shut down the economy for months and months to stop something that was not going to stop and didn't stop it. There's been zero evidence that these lockdowns have actually helped in any way to stop the spread of the virus.
To small businesses that reopen and keep their employees on the job. During these 100 days, an additional 800,000 Americans enrolled in the Affordable Care Act when I established a special sign-up period to do that. 800,000 in that period. We're making one of the largest one-time investments ever in improving health care for veterans. Critical investments to address the opioid crisis. And maybe most importantly, thanks to the American Rescue Plan, we're on track to cut child poverty in America in half this year.
Again, how? How is it going to, by pumping money into people's pockets, how is that actually going to do anything? That would
and in the process,
you would have to expect that when you're sending these people and welfare, whatever government subsidy it is that these people are receiving, you have to expect to be able to trust that they're going to use it for the right thing when the majority of the time they don't. So how are you going to cut it by 50% if that's the case? How are you ensuring that? When you get on unemployment, you don't have to show that you're actually like going to interviews and doing stuff. You're just on unemployment. And yeah, you just check a box. Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely going and looking for a job. There needs to be more accountability to people and less from the government.
While this was all going on, the economy created more than 1,300,000 new jobs in 100 days. More jobs in the first.
They were already expected to start
More
making jobs.
jobs
The economy was going back to how it was
President
pre-COVID, and
The
there were
International
already jobs
Monetary
expected
Fund.
to be made. He did nothing. He absolutely did nothing to contribute to that.
The International Monetary Fund is now estimating our economy will grow at a rate of more than 6% this year. That will be the fastest pace of economic growth in this country in nearly 4 decades.
It's called a rubber band effect.
America's moving forward, but we can't stop now. We're in competition with China and other countries to win the 21st century. We're at a great inflection point in history. We have to do more than just build back better. We have to build back better.
All right, so that's his first flub. All right. We have to do more than build back better. I mean, we have to build back better.
More strenuously than we have.
Number one.
Throughout our history, if you think about it, public investment in infrastructure has literally transformed America. Our attitudes as well as our opportunities. The Transcontinental Railroad, the interstate highways, united 2 oceans and brought a totally new age of progress to the United States of America.
Oh, so you mean stuff that wasn't
Universal
subsidized by the
public schools
government?
and college aid opened wide the doors of opportunity. Scientific breakthroughs took us to the moon. Now we're on Mars. Discovering vaccines gave us the internet, and so much more.
Did he just say we're on Mars discovering
These are
vaccines?
investments we made together as one country, and investments that only the
Or
government
was that a
is in the position
comma?
to make.
On Mars, comma, discovering
Time and
vaccines.
again, they propel us into the future.
You know, you
That's
think
why I
that
proposed the
him
American
being
Jobs Plan.
doing this for
A once-in-a-generation
40, 50 plus
investment in
years,
America itself.
however long, that he
This
would
is
be a
the
better public
largest
speaker.
Jobs plan since World War II. Creates jobs to upgrade our transportation infrastructure. Jobs modernizing our roads, bridges, highways. Jobs building ports and airports, rail corridors, transit lines. It's clean water. And today, up to 10 million homes in America and more than 400,000 schools and child care centers have pipes with lead in them, including drinking water. A clear and present danger to our children's health. American Jobs Plan creates jobs replacing 100% of the nation's lead pipes and service lines, so every American can drink clean water. And in the process, it will create thousands and thousands of good-paying jobs. It creates jobs connecting every American with high-speed internet, including 35% of the rural America that still doesn't have it. It's going to help our kids and our businesses succeed in the 21st century economy. And I'm asking the Vice President to lead this effort, if she would, because I know it will get done.
Yeah, because you can't do it.
Creates
So
jobs
why is
building
it
a modern power grid.
that all these very progressive policies that he's wanting to put in place, that he's looking to Kamala Harris to put in and to lead? Why is he not taking up the mantle? Why is he not at the forefront of the border? Why is he not at the forefront of infrastructure? I don't think he's got much time left.
Our grids are vulnerable.
I think
Storms,
he knows that
hacks,
he's on his way out, and he ain't going to serve a second term.
with tragic results, as we saw in Texas and elsewhere during the winter storms. The American Jobs Plan will create jobs that lay thousands of miles of transmission lines needed to build a resilient and fully clean grid. We can do that.
No such thing as fully clean.
Look,
no matter where you're getting that electricity from, it's putting out some sort of carbon emissions somewhere.
Back to their careers. 2 million women have dropped out of the workforce during this pandemic.
Dropped out. That's an interesting way to phrase it. 2 million women have dropped out. I'm sure it couldn't be because you close down schools, you close down people's jobs, more people had to stay home to take care of their kids, crippling the economy. That couldn't have been it. All the places. Florida never shut down. Florida never shut down their schools. All the places that are democratically owned, those are the places that are hurting the most. That is where the majority of those women dropped out. Guaranteed.
And too often because they couldn't get the care they needed to care for their child.
There you go.
Or care for an elderly parent.
Nailed it on the head, Joe.
Who needs help.
Nailed it on the head.
800,000 families are on the Medicare waiting list right now to get home care for their aging parent or loved one with disability.
Because they don't want to send them in the nursing homes where y'all keep killing them.
Check out in your own district, Democrat or Republican. Democrat or Republican voters. Their great concern, almost as much as their children, is taking care of an elderly loved one who can't.
See, this is again, we're just. Let me be empathetic with the American people. That way I can shove down policies that limit freedoms. That's all the government's there for now. It literally is all the government's here for now, is to grab more and more power each day, and no matter what they're doing, and they'll empathize with whoever they have to empathize with in order to get that power. It's absolutely sickening to see that's where our governments and our societies allowed this to go.
For me, when I think climate change, I think jobs. The American Jobs Plan will put engineers and construction workers to work building more energy-efficient buildings and homes. Electrical workers, IBEW members installing 500,000 charging stations along our highways so we can own the electric car market. Farmers planting cover crops so they can reduce the carbon dioxide in the air and get paid for doing it. Look.
So you're going to subsidize more. That's not what government's here for.
There's simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason. None. No reason.
Except that everything that you want to do is tax more companies at higher rates, make it less profitable for them to be here.
American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have the capacity.
Look at him looking around for confirmation. Like, I'm saying right things, right? Like, I'm doing good. Like, let me get some confirmation. If he was confident in what he was saying, he would just say it.
Dad would then say, with a little breathing room. And all the investments in the American Job Plan will be guided by one principle. Buy American. Buy American.
Buy American, but yet you're going to drive out American companies.
Parenthetically,
we had 4 years of bringing American companies back home, and he's ending all of that.
Buy American. American tax dollars are going to be used to buy American products made in America to create American jobs. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it will be in this administration.
Great. I want my itemized receipt from you, Joe Biden, for everything that you're spending our tax dollars on. Itemized receipt. Show me.
And I made it clear to
Show me what you're spending our money on.
People, their ability to give exemptions has been and strenuously limited. It will be American products. Now, I know some of you at home are wondering whether these jobs are for you. So many of you, so many of the folks I grew up with, feel left behind, forgotten, in an economy that's so rapidly changing. It's frightening. I want to speak directly to you because you think about it. That's what people are most worried about. Can I fit in? Independent experts estimate the American Jobs Plan will add millions of jobs and trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is an 8-year program. These are good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree. 75% don't require an associate's degree. The American Jobs Plan is a blue-collar blueprint to build America. That's what it is. And it recognizes something I've always said in this chamber and the other. Good guys and women on Wall Street, but Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class built the country, and unions built the middle class.
There it is. Unions are a freaking joke. So, in order for a worker to actually contribute to society, they have to believe for themselves and of themselves that they are capable of contributing to society. When you empower unions to let mob rule, let the workers unionize, and let them dictate what they are allowed to do, it makes it to where the guy that's hired on that doesn't do anything gets equal. It is one of the stupidest things that I can imagine ever wanting to be a part of or ever supporting. And I don't get why this guy is so... It's because unions, they contribute so much to the Democratic Party. They donate. And that's why he's protecting unions. That's why he lifts them up in his speeches and says they're the greatest thing and they built this country. Unions did not build this country. Hardworking Americans built this country. And when you unionize, you destroy the go-get-it attitude from hard workers that want to get paid more because of their work and how much they're putting in, and it disenfranchises them every single time.
So that's
no offense if you work for a union, but unions, in my opinion, are dumb.
To pass Protect the Right to Organize Act, the PRO Act, and send it to my desk so we can support the right to unionize.
No.
And by the way, while you're thinking about sending things to my desk, let's raise the minimum wage to $15.
Let's not.
No one.
Let's not have government yet in another place coming in and telling you where you have to be able to pay your employees. Let's not do that. Let's let the businesses decide. Let's let the person who spent all the money to invest and set up his business, let's let him decide what he wants to pay his workers. And if you don't want to work for him at that price, go somewhere else. It's quite simple.
And if you wonder whether it's too long, look behind me.
So he just brought up to the equal pay for women. That is one of the biggest myths going around society today, that women get paid, 80 cents to the dollar of men. Those studies that they come out with, they do not look at time worked. They don't look at jobs worked. They don't look at the amount of time that they spend, what types of jobs. They don't look at any of that. It's just a flat across the rate what they're getting paid. And it's one of the biggest lies being told Americans right now.
And finally, American Jobs Plan will be the biggest increase in non-defense research and development on record. We'll see more technological change. And some of you know more about this than I do. We'll see more technological change in the next 10 years than we saw in the last 50. That's how rapidly artificial intelligence and so much more is changing. And we're falling behind the competition with the rest of the world. Decades ago, we used to invest 2% of our gross domestic product in America, 2% of our gross domestic product in research and development. Today, Mr. Secretary, that's less than 1%. China and other countries are closing in fast. We have to develop and dominate the products and technologies of the future.
I agree, and you have to set up things to stop China and these other countries from stealing our intellectual properties.
Clean energy.
Don't be buddy-buddy with them. Don't be soft on them. Be hard on them.
The Defense Department has an agency called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. The people who set up before I came here, and that's been a long time ago, to develop breakthroughs that enhance our national security. That's their only job. And it's a semi-separate agency. It's under the Defense Department. It's led to everything from the discovery of the internet to GPS and so much more that's enhanced our security. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, I believe, should create a similar advanced research projects agency for health. And here's what it would do. It would have a singular purpose: to develop breakthroughs to prevent, detect, and treat diseases like Alzheimer's, diabetes, and cancer. I'll still never forget when we passed the cancer proposal in the last year I was vice president. Almost $9 million going to NIH. And they've excused the point of personal privilege. I'll never forget you standing, Mitch, and saying, "Name it after my deceased son." It meant a lot. But so many of us have deceased sons, daughters, and relatives who died of cancer. I can think of no more worthy investment. I know of nothing that is more bipartisan. So let's end cancer as we know it. It's within our power. It's within our power to do it. Investments in jobs and infrastructure like the ones we're talking about have often had bipartisan support in the past. Vice President Harris,
So why aren't you getting it now?
I met regularly in the Oval Office with Democrats and Republicans and discussed the jobs plan. And I applaud a group of Republican senators who just put forward their own proposal. So let's get to work. I wanted to lay out before the Congress my plan before we got into the deep discussions. I'd like to meet with those who have ideas that are different, they think are better. I welcome those ideas. But the rest of the world is not waiting for us.
0 times shown that.
I just want to be clear. From my perspective, doing nothing is not an option.
So that's the problem, though, is if they don't agree with you and they think something else, instead of discussing it through, you just want to push through what y'all want. It's happening with the D.C. It's happening with the Supreme Court. I mean, if you don't like it, you just push through because you're in power right now. So how is that showing any faith that you actually want to sit down and have bipartisan conversation?
Traveled over 17,000 miles with them. Spent, they tell me, over 24 hours in private discussions with him. When he called to congratulate him, we had a 2-hour discussion. He's deadly earnest about becoming the most significant, consequential nation in the world. He and others, autocrats, think that democracy can't compete in the 21st century with autocracies because it takes too long to get consensus. To win that competition for the future, in my view, we also need to make a once-in-a-generation investment in our families and our children. That's why I've introduced the American Families Plan tonight, which addresses 4 of the biggest challenges facing American families and in turn America. First is access to good education. When this nation made 12 years of public education universal in the last century, it made us the best educated, best prepared nation in the world. It's, I believe, the overwhelming reason that propelled us to where we got in the 20th century. But the world's caught up or catching up.
Well, then get rid of the teacher unions.
I would say parenthetically,
Get people in there that actually care about the kids again. Let's do that. But you won't speak up against the teacher unions, will you? You got them in your back pocket. Or they got you in your back pocket.
I wonder whether we'd think, as we did in the 20th century, that 12 years is enough in the 21st century. I doubt it. 12 years is no longer enough today to compete with the rest of the world in the 21st century. That's why my American Families Plan guarantees 4 additional years of public education for every person in America, starting as early as we can. The great universities in this country have conducted studies of the last 10 years. It shows that adding 2 years of universal high-quality preschool for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old, no matter what background they come from, puts them in a position to be able to compete all the way through 12 years and increases exponentially their prospect of graduating and going on beyond graduation. Research shows when a young child goes to school, not daycare, they're far more likely to graduate from high school and go to college or something after high school. When you add 2 years of free community college on top of that, you begin to change the dynamic.
So why does it have to be federally mandated? Why can't we do it on a state and local level? That's what it's designed to be anyway.
We'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, minority-serving institutions. The reason is they don't have the endowments. But their students are just as capable of learning about cybersecurity, just as capable of learning about metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs of the future. Jill is a community college professor who teaches today as First Lady. She's long said,
why are we clapping for that? Why is that a standing ovation? Such a joke.
If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. Joe, any country that out-educates us is going to out-compete us. She'll be deeply involved in leading this effort. Thank you, Joe. Second thing we need, American Families Plan will provide access to quality, affordable child care. We guarantee
state and local. It should not be federal.
When I'm proposing in legislation, we guarantee that low and middle income families will pay no more than 7% of their income for high quality care for children up to the age of 5. The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. We're one of the few industrial countries in the world. No one should have to choose between a job and a paycheck or taking care of themselves and their loved ones or parent or spouse or child. And fourth, the American Family Plan puts directly into the pockets of millions of Americans. In March, we expanded tax credit for every child in a family, up to $3,000 per child if they're under 6 years of age. excuse me, over 6 years of age, and $3,600 for children over 6 years of age. With 2 parents, 2 kids, that's $7,200 in the pockets. They're going to help take care of your family. And that will help more than 65 million children and help cut child care poverty in half. And we can afford it.
So yeah, people should get their tax credits on
We
there.
did that in the
I'll agree with that.
last piece of
I'll agree
legislation
that
we
people
passed.
need to have their money back that
Well,
they're
let's
paying to the
extend that
government.
child care tax credit at least through
That
the
the
end of
government's taking far too
2020.
much money from them. 100% agree with you, Joe.
The American Rescue Plan lowered health care premiums for 9 million Americans who buy their coverage under the Affordable Care Act. I know that's really popular this side of the aisle. But let's make that provision permanent so their premiums don't go back up. In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with Congress to address this year other critical priorities for American families. The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this.
If you know how to do it,
The last president
You've
had
had
that as
how
a
long
fix. We all know
to
how
fix it?
outrageously
And all you've done is
expensive
make it
drugs
worse?
are in America. In fact, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of anywhere in the world, right here in America. Nearly
We also-
3 times.
so we also are the leading developer of all medical stuff in the world. That's one of the reasons, it's one of the benefits to having these companies being able to benefit off of the medical industry. Countries like Canada, countries like the UK, where they have globalized health, they're not developing anything. They don't have the money to be able to do that. Such a joke.
For the same drug, nearly 3 times
Look at Bernie Sanders getting all hard on
what
for
other
it.
countries pay. We have to change that, and we can. Let's do what we talked about for all the years I was down here in this body, in Congress. Let's give Medicare the power to save hundreds of billions of dollars by negotiating lower drug prescription prices.
Yeah. I feel like Ted Cruz right now.
And by the way, it won't just help people on Medicare. Lower prescription drug costs for everyone. And the money we save, which is billions of dollars, can go to strengthen the Affordable Care Act and expand Medicare coverage benefits without costing taxpayers an additional penny. It's within our power to do it. Let's do it now.
It's a pipe dream.
We've talked about it long enough, Democrats and Republicans. Let's get it done this year. This is all about a simple premise. Health care should be a right, not a privilege in America.
It's a commodity. Healthcare is a commodity.
So, how do we pay for my jobs and family plan? I made it clear we can do it without increasing the deficits. Let's start with what I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on people making less than $400,000. But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share.
So let's ask a question, just for all of you people out there that are logical in some form and fashion. The Democrats will sit there and tell you that they're against big corporation, that they want to tax the rich, billionaires, millionaires, that they want to tax them and they should pay their fair share. Why do you think that all of these companies, all of these billionaires, all of these people like Amazon and Silicon Valley, why do you think that they support the Democrats? Surely it isn't because they want to lose money, right? Surely.
Just a fair share.
Surely.
Sometimes I have arguments with my friends in the Democratic Party. I think you should be able to become a billionaire and a millionaire.
Do you, Joe?
Pay your fair share. A recent study shows that 55 of the nation's biggest corporations paid zero federal tax last year. Those 55 corporations made in excess of $40 billion in profit.
That's a lie. They pay in so many ways. So many ways. Income taxes, payroll taxes. They pay. It's such a big lie to say that they paid zero.
A lot of companies also evade taxes through tax havens in Switzerland and Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting profits overseas. It's not right. We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well. We're going to reward work, not just wealth. We take the top tax bracket for the wealthiest 1% of Americans, those making over $400,000 or more, back up to where it was when George W. Bush was president, when he started, 39.6%. That's where it was when George W. was president. We're going to get rid of the loopholes, allow Americans to make more than $1 million a year and pay a lower tax rate on their capital gains than Americans who receive a paycheck. We're only going to affect
Why is the government at all,
Americans by that action.
at all, aside from defense of the people, defense of our borders, and our police forces, why is the government getting any of our money?
To be billions of dollars by think tanks or left, right, and center. I'm not looking to punish anybody.
No,
But
you're just
I will
looking to
not
push and
add
punish
tax
everybody.
burden, additional tax burden to the middle class in this country. They're already paying enough. I believe what I propose is fair, fiscally responsible.
It's
And
called
it
greed.
raises revenue to pay for the plans I propose and will create millions of jobs that will grow the economy.
It's not the government's job to
enhance
create jobs.
our financial standing.
It's the working people. It's the companies.
When you hear someone
If a person
say
doesn't like the
they
company
don't wanna raise
that they're
taxes
working
on
for,
the
they don't
lowest
have to be a
1%.
part of that company. They can go to another company. They can go to a competitor. Y'all got rid of the competitors this last year when you closed down this country and forced small businesses out. You got rid of the competitors and allowed these big corporations to keep their monopoly holds on the
Remember, it was
industries.
supposed to pay for itself. That was how it was sold. And generate vast economic growth. Instead, it added $2 trillion to the deficit. It was a huge windfall for corporate America and those at the very top. Instead of using the tax saving to raise wages and invest in research and development, it poured billions of dollars into the pockets of CEOs. In fact, the pay gap between CEOs and their workers is now among the largest in history. According to one study, CEOs make 320 times what the average worker in their corporation makes. It used to be below 100. The pandemic has only made things worse. 20 million Americans lost
I like when he
their job in the
agrees with
pandemic.
me.
Working and middle-class Americans. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion in the same exact period. Let me say it again. 650 people increased their wealth by more than $1 trillion during this pandemic. And they're now worth more than $4 trillion. My fellow Americans, trickle down. Trickle down economics has never worked. And it's time to grow the economy from the bottom and the middle out.
I just disagree. I disagree.
You know, there's a broad consensus of economists left, right, and center, and they agree what I'm proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth. These are among the highest values investments we can make as a nation. I've often said our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power. In my conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. And you know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them? So they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long? My fellow Americans,
The guy coughing.
we have to show not just that we're
He's probably got COVID. Everybody
we're
run.
back to stay, and that we aren't going to go it alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies. No one nation can deal with all the crises of our time, from terrorism to nuclear proliferation, mass migration, cybersecurity, climate change, as well as what we're experiencing now, the pandemics. There's no wall high enough to keep any virus out. And our own vaccine supply, as it grows to meet our needs, and we're meeting them, will become an arsenal for vaccines for other countries, just as America was an arsenal for democracy for the world.
So again,
And in
we're paying for all these
consequence, influence the
vaccines,
world.
and then we're just giving them away.
But every American will have access before that occurs. Every American will have access to be fully covered by COVID-19 from the vaccines we have. Look, the climate crisis is not our fight alone, it's a global fight. The United States accounts, as all of you know, less than 15% of carbon emissions. The rest of the world accounts for 85%. That's why I kept my commitment to rejoin the Paris Accord, because if we do everything perfectly, it's not going to ultimately matter. I kept my commitment to convene a climate summit right here
So the
in
whole
America,
thing with that too is
with
like,
all the major economies of the world.
in order for
China,
that to work,
Russia, India, European
every
Union.
country
I said I'd do
would
it
have
the
to be
first
on
time
board
I
with
did
it. And there's so many countries that
I wanna
are
be
so
very
underdeveloped.
blunt about it.
They're not going to be able to do that. So
I
all
had-
you're doing is crippling our economy, crippling our
Attempt was
workers,
to make sure
and
that
a
the world
farce
could
that's
see
never
that
going to
there was a
happen.
consensus that we are at an inflection point in history. And consensus
I don't
is
deny
if
that
we
climate
act
change
to
is
save the
happening, but
planet, we can
kind of
create
doubt that
millions
it's
of
human
jobs
made. I
and
think that's just
economic
the ebb
growth
and flow of what
opportunity, and
happens
raise
with the
standard
world.
of living amongst everyone around the world. If you watched any of it and you were all busy, I'm sure you didn't have much time. That's what virtually every nation said, even the ones that
So
aren't doing their fair
he
share.
said maybe people didn't have enough time to watch
The
it.
investments
People
I
don't want to
propose
watch you,
tonight
dude.
also
I'm
advance
sitting here
foreign
watching you,
policy, in my view,
but
that
most
benefits the
people
middle
do
class.
not want to watch you. And
That
your
means
ratings,
making sure every nation
they pan that
plays
out.
by the same rules in the global economy,
How many
including
how many
China.
how many watches does this
In
have?
my discussion with President Xi, I told him, we welcome the competition.
So
We're
359,000
not looking for conflict. But I
views.
made absolutely clear
Look at the like to dislike ratio
that we
on here.
will defend America's interest across the board.
Most popular president in the
America will
world,
stand up to
people.
unfair trade
Most
practices
popular
that are gonna
president
cut American
in
workers
the
and
history
American
of the
industries, like
world.
subsidies from state to state.
His videos can't even get a positive.
And the theft.
His
of American
like to
technology
dislike
and
ratio is
intellectual
worse than my KD
I
ratio
also
in
told
COD.
President Xi that we'll maintain a strong military
that's saying
presence in
a
the
lot.
Indo-Pacific, just as we do with NATO and Europe. Not to start a conflict, but to prevent one.
Oh man, this guy.
I told them what I've said to many world leaders, that America will not back away from our commitments, our commitment to human rights and fundamental freedoms, and to our alliances. And I pointed out to him, no responsible American president could remain silent when basic human rights are being so blatantly violated. An American president has to represent the essence of what our country stands for. America is an idea, the most unique idea in history.
An idea
We are
that your party
created,
is
all of us
constantly
equal.
trying to belittle
It's
and
who we
destroy.
are. And we cannot walk away from that principle and, in fact, say we're dealing with the American idea. With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation.
There you go. Got it out.
But their actions will have consequences if they turn out to be true, and they turned out to be true. So
What'd you do?
I responded directly and proportionally to Russia's interference in our elections and the cyber attacks on our government and our business. They did both of these things, and I told them we would respond, and we have. But we can also cooperate when it's our mutual interest. We did it when we extended the New START Treaty on nuclear arms, and we're working to do it on climate change. But he understands we will respond.
I don't think he does because he keeps doing it.
On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence. And American leadership means ending the forever war in Afghanistan. We have without hyperbole, the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. I'm the first president in 40 years who knows what it means to have a son serving in a war zone. Today, we have service members serving in the same war zone as their parents did. We have service members in Afghanistan who are not yet born on 9/11. The war in Afghanistan, as we remember the debates here, were never meant
Is that guy
to be
really wearing two
multi-generational
masks?
undertakings of nation
Oh my
building.
God.
We went to Afghanistan to get terrorists. The terrorists attacked us on 9/11.
The idiocracy.
And we said we
certain
would
people.
follow Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell to do it. If you've been in the upper Konar Valley, you've kind of seen the gates of hell. And we delivered justice to bin Laden. We degraded the terrorist threat of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And after 20 years of valor, and sacrifice, it's time to bring those troops home.
It was supposed to be in May. What happened?
Look,
President Trump promised in May.
even as we do,
Troops will be
we'll
home.
maintain over-the-horizon capacity
You
to
moved it
suppress
out.
future threats to the homeland. Make
What do you
no
want to bet
mistake,
that something happens that...
in
Oh,
20 years,
we gotta keep 'em there.
Terrorism has metastasized. The threat has evolved way beyond Afghanistan. Those of you in the intelligence committees, the foreign relations committee, defense committees, you know well, we have to remain vigilant against the threats to the United States wherever they come from. Al-Qaeda and ISIS are in Yemen, Syria, Somalia, other places in Africa, in the Middle East, and beyond. And we won't ignore what our intelligence agencies have determined to be the most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today.
Antifa.
White supremacy is terrorism.
Oh, man, I was so close.
We're not going to ignore that either.
So, we're just going to ignore the fact that Antifa is sitting there constantly for almost a whole year now, burning down American cities. But it's white supremacy. That's the issue. We had one instance where things got violent with a bunch of right wings. We've had 8, almost 9 months of Antifa burning down businesses, federal buildings, dismantling police the police force. Not a word from him about that. Not one word. This guy is so disingenuous and does not give a flying you-know-what about the American people.
My fellow Americans, look, we have to come together to heal the soul of this nation. It was nearly a year ago before her father's funeral when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young
Here we go.
daughter. She's a little tight, so I was kneeling down to talk to her so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of black Americans. Now's our opportunity to make some real progress. The vast majority of men and women wearing a uniform and a badge serve our communities, and they serve them honorably. I know them. I know they want...
And this woman stands up after calling for so many months to defund our police, and we have mass amounts of police officers leaving the forces now, making our communities less safe.
My fellow Americans,
And they want to pretend to support and they pretend that they care about these communities. They pretend.
And to enact police reform in George Floyd's name that passed the House already. I know Republicans have their own ideas and are engaged in a very productive discussions with Democrats in the Senate. We need to work together to find a consensus. But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death.
So disingenuous.
The country supports this reform, and Congress should act. We have a giant opportunity to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice, real justice. And with the plans outlined tonight, we have a real chance to root out systemic racism that plagues America and American lives in other ways. A chance to deliver real equity, good jobs, good schools, affordable housing, clean air, clean water, being able to generate wealth and pass it down through generations because you have an access to purchase a house. Real opportunities in the lives of more Americans, black, white, Latino, Asian Americans, Native Americans. Look, I also want to thank the United States Senate for voting 94-1 to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act to protect Asian American and Pacific Islanders. You acted decisively.
It's already a crime.
You see on television the
It's already a crime
viciousness
to hurt people because of
we've
their
seen over
race.
the past year and for too long. I urge the House to do the same and send that legislation to my desk, which I will gladly, anxiously sign. I also hope Congress will get to my desk the Equality Act to protect LGBTQ Americans. For all transgender Americans watching at home, especially young people, you're so brave. I want you to know your
If you're
president
young, you're
has
not
your
trans.
back.
Sorry,
Another thing,
you're just confused.
let's authorize the Violence Against Women Act, which has been law for 27 years.
And we shouldn't start cutting up kids when they are that young, making decisions that are life-altering, life-changing. That is child abuse. Bottom line, that is child abuse.
27 years ago, I wrote it.
If you want to cut yourself open when you're an adult, feel free. I don't care. More power to you. If you want
to keep guns out of
take
the hands of
hormone
abusers,
replacement
the court order
therapies
said this is an
and
abuse.
have
You
surgeries,
can't own a gun.
perfectly fine with that. You can go right ahead and do it once you are of legal age. But allowing children that cannot make decisions and allowing parents that don't understand and are being lied to is child abuse, and the government isn't enabling it.
It's to close that loophole that existed. You know, it's estimated
Is he talking about guns now?
50 women are shot and killed by an intimate partner every month in America. 50 a month. Let's pass it and save some lives.
Again, if you're a violent domestic abuser, you already get your guns taken away.
I need not tell anyone this, but gun violence has become an epidemic in America. The flag at the White House was still flying at half-mast for the 8 victims
Define.
of the mass shooting in Georgia. When
What about
10 more
violent
lives were taken in
crimes
the mass shooting in
that have
Colorado.
spiked
And in the week in between those two
dramatically
events,
in democratically run cities and states
250 other Americans were
because
shot
of
dead in the streets
policies
of
that don't allow the American people to defend
250
themselves.
Shot dead. I know how hard it is to make progress on this issue. In the 90s, we passed universal background checks, a ban on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines that hold 100 rounds that can be fired off in seconds. We beat the NRA. Mass shootings and gun violence declined. Check out the report over 10 years. But in the early 2000s, the law expired. We've seen daily bloodshed since. I'm not saying if the law continued, we wouldn't see bloodshed. More than 2 weeks ago in the Rose Garden, surrounded by some of the bravest people I know, the survivors and families who lost loved ones to gun violence, I laid out several of the Department of Justice actions that are being taken to impact on this epidemic. One of them is banning so-called ghost guns. These are homemade guns built from a kit that includes directions how to finish the firearm. The parts have no serial numbers, so they show up at crime scenes and they can't be traced. The buyers of these ghost...
So this is also somewhat of a lie that all these guns that don't have serial numbers are ghost guns. Ghost guns, what it is that it's basically buying parts for your gun. So it's going to make it harder to buy parts for your gun. Say if you have a hammer that goes bad or something like that on your gun, or a trigger or something like that, and you need to replace it, it's just going to make it damn near impossible to buy parts for your guns. That's all this policy that he's proposing is going to do. And as far as these so-called ghost guns, if it doesn't have a serial number on it, more often than not, it's because somebody scratched the serial number off of it, not because it's a ghost gun.
Ghost gun kits aren't required to pass any background check. Anyone, from a criminal or terrorist, could buy this kit and within 30 minutes have a weapon that's lethal, but no more.
It's a lie.
And I'll do everything in my power to protect...
Criminals are going to get guns no matter what. All it's going to do is make it to where law-abiding citizens that own the guns and have bad background checks can't buy parts for their guns anymore. That's all that's going to do. Slowly taking away the freedoms of the people.
I don't want to become confrontational, but we need more Senate Republicans to join the overwhelming majority of Democratic colleagues and close the loopholes required in background check purchases of guns.
Nope, there are no loopholes. If you buy a gun from somebody or sell a gun without performing a background check, that is already illegal, unless it's a private seller.
Responsible gun owners and hunters. They'll tell you there's no possible justification for having 100 rounds in a weapon.
Yeah, there. Let me give you a little scenario, okay? A government wants to come in and disarm its people, right? Government wants to come in, disarm the people. Who are they going to use to disarm the people? They're going to use the things available to them. They're going to use military and they're going to use police because those are government run. What do government, police, and military have? Give you a second. All these guns that they're claiming to want to get rid of are these automatic weapons, these scary rifles that they want to get rid of. That's what they're going to come in and try to take your guns with. You should have the same level of force to protect yourself from foreign and domestic threats as our military and police do. That's what the Second Amendment was for. That's what it was designed for. Nowhere in it does it say that you can't have an AR. Nowhere in it does it say you can't have an automatic rifle. Nowhere in it does it say that. It says the rights of the people shall not be infringed to keep and bear arms. They want to do this
think
so that
they're gonna
eventually,
Kevlar
when they're
vest?
finally done doing their little lies about, oh, we don't want to take away our freedoms, and they actually come to
tell
take
you
away our freedoms,
That there are too many people today
it's not going to be even a
who are able
contest.
to buy a gun, but shouldn't be able to buy a gun. These kinds of reasonable reforms have overwhelming support from the American people, including many gun owners.
Sorry, but the reason that the government has not taken over yet is because the American people are armed. That was the whole point of it, is to keep the American people armed, to keep the government honest. And it's being so dishonest now and trying to take away your liberties and freedoms, your God-given right to protect you, yourself, and your family and your property, that it's not even going to be a contest when they do show up to come and take them.
The country
So yes,
supports
fight back
reform
against
measures,
this.
and Congress should act. This shouldn't be a red or blue issue. And no amendment to the Constitution is absolute. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
Oh, he brought it up. No amendment to the Constitution. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. Did you know that? So he's going at the freedom of speech and how we do have laws against certain speech when it is calls to action. And that is because calls to action are incitement of violence. They ask somebody to do something that is detrimental to the population. The Second Amendment is there to prevent people from doing stuff to you. This guy is so dumb.
From the very beginning, there were certain guns, weapons, that could not be owned by Americans.
That is another lie. There was no guns that were not allowed from the beginning, at the very beginning of the Second Amendment being written, that were illegal to have. In fact, there was somebody, and I'll try to find it later, but there was somebody who wrote a letter asking Congress whether or not he could put a cannon on his ship to protect from pirates. And they said, yes, of course you can have a cannon. So if we could have a cannon back then, I think, adjusted for inflation, that's at least an AR-15, right? Right?
Certain people could not own those weapons ever. We're not changing the Constitution.
I could go right now and put a cannon in my front yard.
I think this is
Perfectly
not a
legal.
Democrat or Republican issue.
Perfectly
I think it's
legal.
an American issue. And here's what else we can do. Immigration has always been essential to America. Let's end our exhausting war over immigration. For more than 30 years, politicians have talked about immigration reform, and we've done nothing about it. It's time to fix it. On day one of my presidency, I kept my commitment and sent a comprehensive immigration bill to the United States Congress. If you believe we need to secure the border, pass it, because it has a lot of money for high-tech border security. If you believe in a pathway to citizenship, pass it. There's over 11 million undocumented folks, the vast majority of here overstaying visas. Pass it.
Deport them.
We can actually, if you actually want to solve a problem,
People overstay
I've
their
sent a bill
visas,
to
deport
take a
them.
close look at it. We also have to get at the root problem of why people are fleeing, particularly
I feel just like him.
Guatemala, Honduras,
Man.
and El Salvador. The violence, the corruption, the gangs, the political instability, hunger, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters.
It's not our country.
When I was president, when I was vice president, the president asked me to focus on providing help needed to address the root causes of migration. And it helped keep people in their own countries instead of being forced to leave.
Tell them to go back.
The plan was working, but the last administration decided it was not worth it. I'm restoring the program and asked Vice President Harris to lead our diplomatic effort to take care of this. I have absolute confidence she'll get the job done. Now look, if you don't like my plan, let's at least pass what we all agree on.
Okay. What do we agree
Congress
on?
needs to pass legislation this year to finally secure protection for dreamers. The young people who've only known America as their home.
Sure.
And
But you can't keep letting people come in.
Protection for
You can't do it.
immigrants
You can't just
who are
let
here
people
on
keep coming in
temporary
illegally,
protected status who came from countries
establishing
beset by
kids in the United
man-made,
States,
natural-made violence and disaster,
and then working the system. You can't do it.
as well as the
You're
pathway to
incentivizing
citizenship
people
for
to come here
farm workers to put
illegally
food on our table.
because
Look,
you don't want to do anything.
immigrants have done so much for America during this pandemic and throughout our history. The country supports immigration reform. We should act. Let's argue over it. Let's debate it. But let's act. And if we truly want to restore the soul of America, we need to protect the sacred right to vote. Most people.
So when he says protect the sacred right to vote, he means he doesn't want any accountability to the people voting. He doesn't want them to have to verify who they are, where they are, or that they're a legal citizen to be able to vote in this country. He wants whoever to be able to vote. These laws that they're passing in Georgia that the Democrats are so opposed to, they are there to protect the voters and ensure that the voters' votes count. When you have a bunch of illegal immigrants coming in and they're able to vote because you're not requiring voter IDs and you're not requiring them to be able to present any sort of identification, and you're just allowing them to vote, it disenfranchises voters because they don't know then that their vote is actually going to count. Because every time an illegal immigrant comes in and votes, it could cancel out one of those people's votes. And that's what the Democrats want. They want to be able to keep control, and they want to bring as many people in and say, yes, you can stay, even though you're illegal. Vote for us, and we can keep you in. And we can keep you to be able to stay here. And that's all they want. So they can push through stupid policies and take over the American people. That's what they want to do.
More people voted in the last presidential election than any time in American history, in the middle of the worst pandemic ever. It should be celebrated. Instead, it's being attacked. Congress should pass H.R. 1 and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and send it to my desk right away.
No, they shouldn't.
The country supports it.
Fight like hell to stop it.
Congress should act now. Look, in conclusion, as we gather here tonight, the image of a violent mob assaulting this Capitol, desecrating our democracy, remain vivid in all our minds.
What about the violent mobs that are attacking American cities? What about those, Joe? Again, they do not care. They just want power. If you're watching this right now and you like Joe Biden and you like what he's saying, do some research. Look at what they're trying to do and how they're doing it. Don't listen to the news media. They are not telling the truth about anything. They are propaganda puppets for the Democratic Party. That is it.
Lives were put at risk, many of your lives. Lives were lost. Extraordinary courage was summoned. The insurrection was an existential crisis, a test of whether our democracy could survive, and it did.
It went back that same day and finished doing what they were doing. It was nowhere near what he's trying to describe it as.
As old as our republic, still
it was never going to go anywhere.
Can our democracy deliver on its promise that all of us, created equal in the image of God, had a chance to lead lives of dignity, respect, and possibility? Can our democracy deliver the most pressing needs of our people? Can our democracy overcome the lies, anger, hate, and fears that have pulled us apart? America's adversaries, the autocrats of the world, are betting we can't. And I promise you they're betting we can't. They believe we're too full of anger and division and rage.
That you have created.
Look at the images
that
of the
you and your party have created.
As proof that the sun is setting on American democracy. But they're wrong. You know it, I know it. But we have to prove them wrong. We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and we can deliver for our people. In our first 100 days together, we've acted to restore people's faith in democracy to deliver. We're vaccinating the nation. We're creating hundreds of thousands of new jobs. We're delivering real results to people. They can see it, feel it in their own lives. Opening doors of opportunity, guaranteeing some more fairness and justice. That's the essence of America. That's democracy in action. Our Constitution opens with the words, as trite as it sounds, we the people. Well, it's time to remember that we the people are the government. You and I. Not some force in a distant capital.
No, that is not what it is anymore. It is government versus people now. That's what it has become. And that is what the Democrats want. They want to be able to tell you how you can live your life, what you can do, when you can do it, and why you can do it. They want to brainwash you into followers. They do not want you making decisions. If you were making decisions, you wouldn't be paying half of these politicians half as much as they deserve, which is practically zero.
Not some powerful force that we have no control over. It's us. It's we the people. In another era, when our democracy was tested, Franklin Roosevelt reminded us, in America, we do our part. We all do our part. That's all I'm asking. That we do our part, all of us. But if we do that, we will meet the center challenge of the age by proving that democracy is durable and strong. Autocrats will not win the future. We will. America will. And the future belongs to America. As I stand here tonight before you in a new and vital hour of life and democracy of our nation, and I can say with absolute confidence, I have never been more confident or optimistic about America. Not because I'm president, because of what's happening with the American people. We've stared into the abyss of insurrection and autocracy.
There's a lot there.
Pandemic and pain. And we, the people, did not flinch.
Because I'm pretty sure like 6 months ago, he was saying how awful America was just because somebody else was president and how America was going down the drain. But now, yes, because he's president, he thinks everything's better now. Nothing's gotten better. It's only gotten worse.
The very moment our adversaries were certain we'd pull apart and fail, we came together, we united. With light and hope, we summoned a new strength, new resolve to position us to win the competition of the 21st century. On our way to a union more perfect, more prosperous, and more just, as one people, one nation, and one America. Folks, as I told every world leader I've ever met with over the years, it's never, ever, ever been a good bet to bet against America, and it still isn't. We're the United States of America. There's not a single thing, nothing beyond our capacity. We can do whatever we set our minds to if we do it together. So let's begin to get together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, you got to do the, there you go. No handshaking. 2 vaccinated people, no handshaking. Oh, you got the fist bump from Kamala Harris. Nice. Oh, yeah, put your mask on. Put your mask on, dude. All right. So, the first State of the Union address by our fearless leader, Joe Biden. I'm not impressed. Let me know what you think. Comment, hit the like button, and subscribe. We'll catch you later.